And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be talking about 1883 episode number 9. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Leave a like, leave a comment. Check out some of the other content on the channel. We're going to be doing Snowfall. We got Raised by Wolves, Big Sky, Righteous
Elden Ring.
Gemstones. Oh yeah. We're going to be playing Elden Ring. I don't know if we'll be covering it, but yeah, lots of content. Check it out. I want to start with more of a feeling I had watching this episode and talk about that. Like this was the show has been sort of depressing, in a good way. It's a good show, but it's a very sad show, and this entire episode was uncomfortable. Like there were just multiple times where I just felt bad, and I don't know, it just caught me at the wrong time. I like the episode, but between see the horse incident with the snake, and you're just like Joseph and his wife are injured. You had the discovery of the Native Americans that had been slaughtered, leading to a horrific battle in which the immigrants were killed and the woman scalped. Elsa potentially, not potentially, pretty much gonna die. Just every step of this episode was just like, damn. Even from the cook's death, like that was something he was so afraid of, and yet he had a brutal ass, death. So yeah, just the feeling of this episode, man. Like what were you guys thinking throughout it? Was it, it was just a downer.
Yeah, it was a dark one. Like you said, the cook stuff was really surprising the way that went down, and you know, we kind of figured we were losing some more people. I didn't expect it to be Elsa, especially when we got to this moment, which was foreshadowed in the first episode of the show. I didn't think she was going to die. Like I assumed they weren't going to make it to, they weren't going to make it as far as they wanted to, but I assumed that because Yellowstone clearly doesn't take place. It takes place in Montana.
Montana, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, well, they're going to clearly wind up in Montana somehow, and I didn't think the reason why they settled in Montana would be so grim, but now it seems clear that that's where they bury Elsa.
I had a completely different feeling about this show, but it's because I'm a horrible person. This was by far my favorite episode.
It was a good one.
And it was dark, but dude, when that horse got bit by that snake, I started dying. Like I was fucking howling, dude. And then when she like fell, I was like, oh damn, because I've legit fell off a horse before. Like I had a real bad head injury. My blood sugar crashed, and I fell off a horse and smacked my head. Like
I got bit by a horse before. That's a true story.
So like her falling off the horse, I was like, oh damn. But then when old dude got bit by the snake, I started dying laughing. I'm like, you dumb motherfucker. Like it's rattling at you. You knew what happened and you still got off and like were trying to, shoot it and stuff. And then who was it that came around and said, don't shoot it, you'll spook the horses? I don't remember which character came.
I think one of the cowboys or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember which one, but then they threw the jacket on it and stomped a mud hole in the snake. I was like, holy shit. So I was dying laughing during that whole part. And then, the cook dying, that made me laugh. I was laughing like hysterically. like
that's funny. Because stuff like that usually make, I don't know. Like I said, this episode, it was just one of those, like, I was just in a mood. And so as everything was happening, I was just like, oh, it was like a day where like you take a test, but you didn't study and you just felt like shit. And like, it was just, I just felt bad watching the whole episode. Like,
well, see, I think that's where we differed. Like I had a shitty day and then I watched it and I couldn't stop laughing.
Their day is shittier.
Yeah.
It
I was
helps.
just like, man, my day was bad. And then I'm like, well, at least I didn't get bit by a snake and thrown off a horse.
That's why I like
this with an arrow and set on fire.
That's a good point because that's the same reason I watch Black Mirror.
Another one that gives me nightmares.
There's a couple of those episodes that don't bother me a whole lot, but there's a couple that do tear me up.
Well, it's the ones where you're like, that could happen and might.
Yes. And then you see a headline that is pretty much the episode of Black Mirror you just watched.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, and like we joked, I think it was a few episodes ago about, everything being so grim and so many people dying that it may just be the boy. I believe his name is Jack. It's Jack, right? And isn't that the son's name?
John.
John? Okay, yeah. It might just be him in Montana, starting this family. And now it might actually be him.
Well,
he may.
and this isn't a spoiler. This was on Yellowstone, and I saw somebody post a clip of it, not in our comments, but I saw something that Margaret at least makes it, the kid at least makes it, and then there's another kid. So remember that she made a promise, and this was back when she was sleeping with the first dude, Elsa was. So
Enos.
Enos, like whether or not she's
R.I.P.
pregnant from that, and all this stuff. But then she had her, her period, and so we assumed that he's not the dad, but Sam could be, and she may still have a baby. But she told Margaret, kept saying, "I don't want to raise another kid. If you have a kid, you're gonna have to raise it." But there's a scene in Yellowstone that's a flashback that they showed recently of Margaret with two kids. She has two boys.
Hmm.
So I don't know if Elsa. I don't. Everybody's assumption is that she was raising Elsa's kid. So it would make sense for her to make it to Montana, like you were saying, guys, that she makes it. That's where they bury her. But maybe in the process she has a baby, and then she
I,
gets it.
I
Comes
don't
back.
know.
So,
I mean, yeah, that's weird because she seems pretty. That she'd have to live another
yeah, a
eight,
couple.
several months.
Yeah.
well, yeah. That's why I feel it's going to go grimmer than that. That like almost none of these people are going to survive. Like this is the remaining child on this trip that she also raises or something.
Or what? Well, Thomas's girlfriend
That's
has
true.
two kids,
Well, yeah,
two
and that's
two
what I'm
boys,
saying.
right?
It could be anybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that like Margaret at least makes it, and she calls the kid John. Like John's the older one, so she's like, "John, come here," blah blah blah, and then they said that the flashback ended because they showed part of it on the clip I watched. So Margaret at least makes it. And that's about the extent of who I know makes it. But Elsa making it or not, it's one of those things where I think she'll at least make it through the end of next episode because isn't next week the last one?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think it's
Let me
10.
double check. I think it's just 10. Yeah, this is it.
So we got one more. So she'll at least be in this episode because then next season they could change the point of view, the narrator or whoever, because she's been narrating this. Doesn't mean that she could narrate it. She'd just be like, I was so lost or whatever.
Well, yeah, and this show is so grim. She's going to make it, but we're going to find out she's got tuberculosis and.
She got the tuberculosis colitis, or she got
Well, wasn't that what everybody got sick with in the first town in episode 1? The people that they kicked out.
smallpox.
That was smallpox.
Oh, smallpox. Okay.
Yeah. Which smallpox, you're done quick. Or
Yeah.
TB, you could live a while. It depends.
Holiday, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a great example. Depends on how much money you have for medical attention. You might be able to live a while,
You got to get to a dry climate.
but you'd eventually die. Yeah. I guess continuing the twisted thing. I'll see if this made you laugh. So we have one of the the woman who was scalped, and then the dude had to kill her.
I was so fucking hard.
God damn. The because it was an interesting morality moment because he does it, and then him and Shay have a little back and forth because he's just like, I don't know if it was the right decision, and Shay basically tells him, look, you did it, and it is what it is. Move on. But it's one of those like, yeah, I don't know, and he was questioning it. He's a newer character. We just got him 2 or 3 episodes ago. Like I said, there's only one left, but assuming that more people do survive, he could be someone that plays a role if there's, in a second season, if he's part of, the settlement or whatever. So in other words, this is a seed that could be planted that may not pay off until a second season. But yeah, any thoughts besides it making Spencer laugh?
He's the one that's in the. No, that wasn't Charlie.
No, that was the other,
that was
the guy that popped in for like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
They're like, what up,
Charlie?
Well,
Charlie? Charlie better come back.
Charlie's in Yellowstone.
Yeah,
He
the
played
actor,
the
yeah.
character in it, so it's supposedly his dad, or I don't know. great grandpa.
Well,
But
that's funny. I was about to joke about, him marrying Margaret after her husband dies, but maybe Charlie who just popped in.
yeah, that scene made me laugh hysterically, Brian. Like I said, I don't know. Like you were talking about, you were in a mood. I think I was in a mood because I was laughing so hard because when he was talking to her at first, I was like, damn, that's tragic. She's scalped. She's got arrows stuck through her. And then when he started freaking out and like yelling at her, I was like, okay, that was tragic. She probably couldn't even hardly speak English, let alone communicate in a situation like that. She's in shock. But then when he was describing it is when I couldn't stop laughing. Like she was like a damn coyote. And I was how he was describing her coming at him made it all that much worse.
Yeah, it was a rough scene for me, but man, you had a rough
didn't
day at
bust
work
out
today.
like, yeah, for real.
You had a real rough day at work today.
I got a real fucked up humor.
But yeah, it's just like she was in shock, and he almost seemed like he was in shock by it because he didn't know what to say, and he's like, I don't know the Lord's Prayer, and he's just, he's freaking out, and you can see it weighed heavy on him. It's just, it feels like in the show, like nobody really knows what they were getting themselves into when they made this journey, that it could go this bad.
Except the cook, and he knew.
He knew, and
bad. And then he ran for him. I'm getting to the fort in, was it 4 hours instead of 8?
Right?
And got shot up.
Yeah, just him and Shay, but Shay came here to die anyway.
Yeah. Let's see, where do I want to go from there? Let's talk about. So last week, one of our complaints was that it was just an odd episode that sort of felt like a sidetrack, but this episode made it mean more. Basically, Elsa's the one that saved them. She had an interaction with one of the Native Americans who was attacking them, and basically was able to speak some language. And he was like, oh shit, how do you know that? And she explained to him and then told him what really, we didn't do this, blah blah blah. So all that sort of paid off in that way. She still got shot, but she got shot before that. So yeah, I thought that was fine as far as the payoff.
Were they the Dakota Indians?
Well, see that they meant they were. See, I don't know if they were the same part of the same crew, because they were basically saying that there was multiple tribes around there, and that so
sure.
it wasn't. I don't know.
Because she was Sam's a Comanche. I think he was a Comanche.
Sam's Comanche.
And then I think that these ones, they said the ones that were killed were Coda.
I believe so.
And
that was the main guy's wife. So I'm assuming that they were the Coda Indians.
Well, yeah, and that was the other. Yet again, just the whole episode was just like shit, because he was explaining. Because you're like, at first you're a little mad because you're like, you're killing these innocent people, and he explains, yeah, all my people I just saw their dead bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and like every single scene was just like bam, 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 all the way to the final scene where Elsa's just like, I looked into his eyes and I knew, I'm gonna die, and I'm sitting there just like, oh my god, and Spencer's just laughing, yucking it up.
He's eating popcorn, barely containing his laughs.
Because
thought he was watching Dumb or Dumber or something. Or Step Brothers.
There's scenes where Elsa narrating, to me, adds to the scene. Yeah. I'm like, it adds some insight. But this whole episode, it's almost like she should have just shut up this episode, because there was so much going on. Visually, there was so much, all the Indian stuff, the giant battle that they had with the Coda tribe and coming across, and so many people died. And then her whole monologue at the end, I was rolling my eyes and laughing, because I was just, to me, it was so ridiculous, because at this point you had so much character building. You had even her whole scenes with Sam in the last episode, which I did not really care for. made sense this episode. I still think they could have cut it down some, but it at least felt like foreshadowing at this point. I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. But her giant, like 2-minute monologue at the end talking about her own death, they already covered that. When you had Margaret and Charlie Brown talking.
James.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't remember his name. And I was going to say James too, but it sounded wrong. But when they had Margaret and James talking about, hey, she's getting ready to die soon. We need to make every moment count for her. So that's how they should have left that. So for her to figure it out, it was over the top. So yeah, I was laughing at that too. And and I have girls. So like normally the daddy daughter stuff gets me all choked up, but that for whatever reason, I don't know, man.
That's what surprises me about it.
Dude,
Yeah, because usually
you were in one hell of a mood.
I was gonna mention another movie I laughed at, but I don't want that to be public.
Be careful. Be careful.
Yeah. I was like, I'll just wait until you guys right before I get off.
We got to release a public statement and everything, an apology.
It would be an apology tour.
The most badass scene in the whole thing was when the bandits were explaining what they were doing, and Shay, Thomas, and the crew just said "fuck you" and just lit them up. Like that was great.
Well, and that scene, I mean, I was laughing at a lot of things, but that to me just felt like a Western. The whole Coda tribe thing felt like a Western. Those were the parts of the scenes. Those were the scenes of this episode that I loved. And that whole sequence, how often in those times did people just deputize themselves? They're just like, yeah, I'm in charge over here. I'm sure that shit happened all the time. And those guys just, old man, can you even reach your pistol? And then they just fucked them up.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just saying, what was that dialogue from? Because I remember hearing that too in a Western. Old man, can you even reach your pistol? Like, and then, what is that from? That's from something.
Back to the Future.
Back to the
Future. Biff, can you reach your pistol, old man?
Can you reach your pistol, old man? And Doc Brown lit him up.
He lit him up.
Maybe spill my beer, old man.
Get the hell out of my car, old man.
Maybe spill my beer, old man. He's got bullet holes riddled in him. Beer can's got a hole in it too.
So there's one left. We know it appears Elsa's, dying. She'll get an infection. And they laid out, like you said, Spencer, they laid it out. They said, where she dies, we will bury her, and that is where we will settle. Which I think is sort of cool. As someone who's never watched Yellowstone, the idea, though, that this whole series is the origin of the Dutton family, how they, built their empire, if you will, and the fact that it's Elsa's essentially tomb is the grounds in which everything was built. That's an interesting, sort of cool twist on an origin story. Any thoughts on that?
I am curious how many other people are settling in Montana at this point. Like is that common in like 1883?
I think it was a huge, Lonesome Dove. That was a Western, and they drove a bunch of cattle to Montana area. It's talk about ranches. Texas has a bunch, but so does Montana. There's a lot of land up there, and even this show Yellowstone, they're cattle ranchers too. There's a lot of different stuff that they do. So I think that at that time there's probably not a lot, but as far as the people who are already traveling there are the same people who probably settled there too.
Yeah, because it's not. I'm just looked it up real quick. Like the population of Montana is tiny, and like it always has been. I think it's just barely over 1 million. So yeah, not a whole lot of people are there, and I'm sure there were probably little, as we learned through our history, there's little sub wars that we didn't know about, and crazy things.
It's funny you say that because I'm wondering if there's a show that could spin out of this show because it was so great.
Well, weren't they referenced it in this show on the Oregon Trail? There was a little mini war happening in a territory, and I can't remember what it was called. I'll try and look it up. Hold on. Y'all can talk about something while I look it up.
Do you think they said it in this episode? You know, as sort of a nod to us in our generation, so we would have that moment where it's like, oh, they said the thing, you know, Oregon Trail, because this is the first time they've referenced the Oregon Trail.
They had to.
I was looking at the census from Montana, and it shows from 1870 to 1900. 1870, there's 20,000 people in Montana. 1880, it was 39, but then between 1890, it jumped from 39,100 something to 132,000. And then by 1900s, so 20 years, it jumped from 39,000 to 243,000. So the increase between 80 and 90 was 237%. And that's about the time they would be getting there, is between those two times. So that time frame, everybody was, fuck it, this is far enough.
They can name the next show that. But yeah, that much expansion. Yeah, there's bound to be some interesting stories there. There's got to be a lot that they can talk about, or you know, like, or if they are going to do another show, like, well, maybe it's still 1883, but we're in a different scenario. They could Fargo it, you know.
1883 Fife. Fuck it, far enough.
I can't find it, but there was some kind of conflict around that area, which is crazy when you start looking up U.S. history. There's so many little mini wars and conflicts and territories that aren't typically studied, and you're just like, wow, I didn't know that happened. But let me see here. So yeah, one left. So I'm assuming they're barely a group at this point, and they'll start moving, and they'll somehow end up in Montana for whatever reason. They'll go in that direction. I'm guessing Elsa will die. Like, I guess, and then they'll just be like, all right, this is it.
Or everybody else will die, and she'll come to, and she's like, Dad, I'm okay, you know. And
maybe actually,
the Apache Wars were going on during that time.
Which wars?
The Apache Wars.
What part of the country?
It says the Apache War is a series of armed conflicts between the United States Army and various Apache nations in the Southwest between 1849 and 1886.
There you go. So that was one.
Minor hostilities continued until as late as 1924.
Damn.
Sounds right.
But yeah, that's all I got really. Spencer, I don't think it's funny that you thought this episode was funny.
Yeah, right. Can't wait for that hilarious finale.
I'm excited because I have a feeling it's going to be some like botched operation, and she's going to be walking around like the only thing that's going to help her liver is going to be alcohol or some bullshit. I don't know.
Maybe they'll run into their era's version of Leatherface, and we can get some serious laughs.
Slaughters them all. Kills John. But yeah, all right. Anything else?
No, that's it. I'll stop making fun of this because I really liked it. Like, it was a Western. It was great, but there was like 3 parts that I shouldn't have laughed, and I was laughing very hard. Several parts.
Yeah. Appreciate everyone listening. Like I said, we got a lot of other content coming up on the channel. Check it out. And we'll see you for the finale.
Bye.
Bye.